Ju, a dusty road stretched through a maze of unfinished buildings. Every morning before the sun climbed over the rusted zinc roofs, a teenage boy named David Cole arrived at the biggest construction site in town. He wasn't there to learn engineering or architecture. No, David was a laborer, the kind who mixed cement until his hands blistered, carried bricks on his shoulders until his back screamed, and fetched water from far-off taps under the angry Lagos sun. He was just 17. The foreman, a stout man with a voice like gravel, often shouted at him, "David, stop dreaming and carry that block before I replace you." But David was dreaming. Even as sweat dripped from his chin into the wet sand. He dreamed of one day building something greater than houses. He wanted to build hope. The dreamers of the site. There were 5 of them, boys the world called laborers, but who called each other brothers. David Cole, the dreamer who believed every brick carried was a lesson. Marcus, the joker, who never took life seriously but had a sharp eye for measurements. John Peters, the realist, older than the rest, who always said dreams don't mix cement. Ben, the quiet one, who saved every naira he earned. Mrs. Lawson, the kind food seller by the roadside, who often gave them extra stew and told them stories of people who made it big by starting small. Every lunch break, when others dozed under half-built pillars, David sat beside Mrs. Lawson's food stand, asking questions. "Ma, how do people become builders? Not just masons, real builders." Mrs. Lawson would smile, her hands still busy serving hot rice. "Knowledge, my son, knowledge and integrity. Learn everything you can about what you do. One day, people will pay you for what you know, not what you carry." Those words sank deep into David's heart. A turning point. One day, a storm rolled over the site. Thunder cracked open the sky and rain turned the ground into a sea of mud. The workers ran for shelter, all except David. He stood under the rain, covering the half-built foundation with plastic sheets to keep the cement from washing away. When the contractor, Mr. Thompson, arrived that day, he was shocked. "Who did this?" he asked. "David, oh, that small boy that carries blocks," someone said. Mr. Thompson watched David, drenched but proud, and smiled. "Boy, you think like a builder, not like a laborer." That day changed everything. Mr. Thompson began teaching David small things: how to read a building plan, how to calculate square meters, how to estimate materials. While others laughed, David listened. He stopped seeing himself as a laborer. He became a student of construction. Marcus mocked him. "So you want to be engineer now, Abi?" But David only smiled. "I want to be the one who builds, not just the one who carries." Every night, he read old textbooks he borrowed from local builders. He practiced sketching building designs on scrap paper. He even began to assist site supervisors during inspections. By the time he turned 21, he could explain concrete ratios better than some diploma holders. The road to change. One morning, after 4 years on the site, he told Mrs. Lawson, "Ma, I'm leaving." She looked up surprised. "Leaving? To where?" "To write my real estate exam. I've saved enough." Mrs. Lawson's smile trembled with pride. "Go, my son. Don't forget what carried you this far: humility and honesty." David left the site with only a backpack, a few naira, and a hat full of dreams. He traveled to Lagos City, took his exam, and became a licensed real estate agent. But that was only the beginning, because while others wanted commissions, David wanted legacy. The streets of Lagos were louder than anything David Cole had ever known. Yellow buses screamed,
Hawkers argued. The smell of roasted corn and exhaust filled the air. But David walked with quiet confidence. He was no longer the boy who carried blocks. He was now a licensed real estate agent, a man ready to rewrite his story. Still, the city was not kind to dreamers. David started his real estate career with nothing but a nylon folder of photocopied certificates and a second-hand phone with a cracked screen. He rented a small corner in his friend's office using an old desk and a borrowed chair. Every morning, he would press his only white shirt and pray for one client to show up. Sometimes, he'd go home with nothing but dust on his shoes and hunger in his stomach. Yet he refused to give up. He remembered what Mrs. Lawson told him years ago under the hot sun. People will pay you for what you know, not what you carry. So David focused on what he knew: construction. When other agents were just posting house pictures online, David would walk clients through sites and explain everything from foundation depth to roof pitch. He spoke with passion, and clients began to trust him. One afternoon, he got a call from a man named Mr. Andrews, a businessman who wanted to buy a plot of land. "I've met many agents. Why should I trust you?" David took a deep breath. "Sir, I used to carry blocks for men who built houses. I understand land, structure, and the tricks behind bag deals. I don't just sell, I secure peace of mind." There was silence. Then Mr. Andrews laughed. "You sound confident. Meet me tomorrow." That meeting changed David's life. He helped Mr. Andrews verify documents, stopped him from buying fake land, and guided him through the entire process. Mr. Andrews was so impressed that he recommended David to 2 more clients. Within 6 months, David closed 3 property deals, enough to move into a small office of his own. He bought a laptop, hired his old friend Ben as an assistant, and began printing flyers with the bold title, Cole Realty: Integrity you can build on. The temptation. Success, however, attracts shadows. One of his old site friends, Marcus, came to visit. He had also become an agent, but with a different approach: fast money and fake promises. "David, you are too slow. Clients like sweet words. Forget this your honesty matter. Say what they want to hear, close deals fast, and chop your commission." But David shook his head. "That's not the kind of foundation I want to build." Marcus laughed. "Then you will remain small." Yet, as the months passed, David's reputation for honesty began to spread quietly, like morning light. People started calling him the builder's agent. A bigger door opens. One evening, his phone rang again. "Good evening, is this Mr. Cole?" "Yes, please." "This is Mr. Thompson, the contractor from Elupeju site." David froze. The same man who once told him he thought like a builder. "I've been following your work. I'm about to start a housing project in Abuja. I need someone I can trust to handle the real estate side. Are you interested?" David took a breath. "Sir, yes, I'm very interested." That call became the bridge between his past and his destiny. Within months, David was in Abuja, wearing a helmet instead of carrying bricks. He worked side by side with engineers, architects, and investors. He understood every nail, every plan, every cost, because he had once lived it. The project was a success. Thompson's company made millions, and in gratitude, he gave David a share of the profits. That money became the seed for something bigger: Ace Real Estate, the company David would one day take across Africa. The year was 2019, the year everything changed for David Sile. His small real estate firm, Ace Real Estate, had become the talk of the city. Within 2 years, David had gone from supervising 2 building projects to managing 15 across Nigeria and even Rwanda. The boy who once carried bricks on muddy sites now wore tailored suits, attended high-profile meetings, and dined with investors who once wouldn't return his calls. But with success came the storm. Everywhere David went, people whispered his name, some with admiration, others with envy. "That's the boy who used to carry cement," they'd say. But others sneered quietly. "He must be doing something shady. How can a bricklayer become a millionaire so fast?" David ignored the noise, at least at first. He kept his focus, expanding his firm and hiring young graduates to train in construction management. Among them was Chris Daniels, his closest friend from the old neighborhood. Chris had stood by David during his days of struggle, even loaning him money once when David couldn't afford his transport to an interview. When David finally had the resources, he brought Chris into Ace Properties as head of operations. At first, things went smoothly. Chris handled site supervision while David managed investors. They were a powerful team. Ambition and loyalty blended in perfect rhythm. But slowly, something began to change. Chris started arriving at meetings late, wearing expensive wristwatches and designer suits that his salary couldn't quite explain. He began to complain about David's tight control and hinted to workers that he deserved more recognition. David acts like he owns the whole company, but who handled all the field work? Who negotiated with suppliers when he was in boardrooms shaking hands? At first, the comments seemed harmless, just a friend venting. But whispers spread among the staff, and soon, David began noticing unusual discrepancies in the company's accounts. Payments missing, invoices duplicated, sites reporting lower material deliveries than what was recorded. David's heart sank. He didn't want to believe it, but the numbers didn't lie. One night, he stayed up late, going through transactions line by line. His suspicion grew stronger. Chris was diverting funds, small amounts at first, then larger ones. When confronted, Chris laughed. "David, you think you're the only one who deserves success. I was here from day one too. You drive SUVs and sit in AC offices while I sweat on site. I only took what I earned." David felt betrayed. This wasn't just about money. It was about trust, about the years they had spent dreaming of a better life. He wanted to scream, to call the police, to destroy everything they had built, but he didn't. Instead, he paused. He remembered his old mentor, Mr. Harris, the construction site foreman, who once told him, "Son, the real test of a man's strength isn't when he's struggling, it's when he's winning." David made a difficult choice. Rather than expose Chris publicly, he called for a private meeting. He laid out the evidence, calm but firm. "You have two choices. Either return what you took, resign quietly, and I will let you walk away. But if you continue, I will take legal action." Chris's eyes hardened. He said, "You will regret this," and walked out. The next few weeks were chaos. Rumors flooded social media, anonymous posts accusing David of fraud and mismanagement. Some investors panicked and pulled out. Contractors delayed payments. Staff whispered behind his back. For the first time in years, David felt the ground beneath him shake. He thought about quitting, selling everything and starting over. But something inside him refused to break. He called his team together and spoke from the heart. "Yes, mistakes were made, but we built this company with sweat and truth. We will rise again the right way." He spent the next 6 months rebuilding trust, meeting investors one by one, explaining the truth, tightening financial systems, and personally leading projects on site. The road was hard, but slowly confidence returned. Then, in one unexpected twist of fate, the government awarded Ace Real Estate a massive housing contract in Rwanda, the same project David and Chris had dreamt about years ago. The news spread like wildfire. The same people who once doubted him now applauded his comeback. David stood on a new construction site one morning, watching workers lay bricks under the sun, just as he once did. A young mason approached him, dusty and tired, and asked him, "Sir, how did you do it? How did you come from the site to owning everything?" David smiled, looking at the boy. He saw himself years ago. He said quietly, "Never let betrayal stop you from building. Even when storms come,
keep building because integrity will outlast every storm. As the sun rose over the cranes and concrete, David felt peace, not from wealth, but from wisdom earned through pain. He had learned the greatest truth of success. The higher you rise, the stronger your foundation of integrity must be, or everything will collapse.